Hello and welcome to Fairy Stamper. This is Amanda and I'm back with another video. Today I am sharing a technique that I'm going to call the Fairy Sparkle technique. And it's loosely based off of a technique that's pretty old. It's called the black ice technique, except I'm not going to use black, I guess. I mean, I am using black. I'm going to stamp my main images in black, but the actual technique part is not going to be in black. So any of you veteran stampers out there may remember the black ice technique, and it's basically where you drag a black ink pad like StazOn or Archival ink from the top of the of your panel and from the bottom of your panel up. And you don't want to drag it too terribly far down or too terribly far up, but you just kind of want to give a little bit of an effect. And then you're going to stamp your main images, and then after you get your main images stamped, you're going to take a Versamark pad and drag it again from the top and from the bottom, and then you cover it with white or clear embossing powder. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stamp my main images. I'm going to skip the black portion. I'm going to stamp my main images, and then we're going to drag the Versamark, and we're going to cover it with holographic embossing powder for the sparkle of the fairy dust. So here I am struggling with this ginormous archival ink pad because this daisy stamp is really huge. And I have either a ginormous archival ink pad or I have like one of the little teeny tiny archival ink pads. So I went with the ginormous one because it fit the stamp better, but I was not getting an even coverage when I left the door on my Tim Holtz platform. So I took the door off and took it to the ink pad, and that worked much better. This is the first time that I'm using this stamp, so I did not get a great impression the first time. So then I had to do this all over again and to get a better impression, and I had to do it a couple times, but I'm not going to show all that. I'm just going to show you this first time that I did this. That way, if you have this ginormous ink pad and you have the Tim Holtz platform or a platform that you can remove the door, it'll give you an idea of how to deal with this. So if you don't get a good impression and you don't want to stamp like 50 times, you can go in if you're doing this particular technique and not something that's going to react, go in with a Sharpie and just fill in those areas. So much easier. So that's what I did there. And now I'm going to and I'm doing this on two different panels. So I'm doing one on the Tim Holtz Kraft stock in the silver, and then I decided to do another panel that's going to be exactly the same on some Simon Says Stamp rainbow holographic cardstock. Now, because I cut my panel in 4s, it's not going to have all the rainbow colors on it. I just have the green, yellow, and orange, and maybe a tiny bit of red on the bottom. I think it's just the orange though. I can't see with this teeny tiny screen when I'm doing my voiceover. But anyway, so I'm gonna do it on this rainbow too, just to kind of show two different versions, but they're gonna have the exact same stamping. So you'll see me switch back and forth, but I'm not gonna show all of it on both panels. I'm just gonna show some on this panel, some on that panel, but they all have the exact same stamping. So I am doing the Stardust Magic Sentiment and a few of the Condo Dwellers from each set. So I have the Condo Dwellers and the Condo Dwellers 2. So now that I've got all my stamping done, you want to make sure that this is completely dry before you move on to the next step. And then I'm taking a little bit of adhesive. You probably should use temporary adhesive. I don't have any temporary adhesive except for my Zig glue pen, and that did not work. That's what you see. You do see some of that on the back of these panels. That didn't work for me, so I did switch to a tape runner. It was permanent adhesive. Mine came off fine off my glass mat without ruining the panels, but every permanent adhesive is a little bit different, so if you have temporary adhesive, I'd probably use that. So I did adhere these to my glass mat so they don't shift around on me. And then I'm going to take the Versamark and drag it across my panels. And since I've been blabbing away here, and you don't want to, actually, hold on before I get on to that part. You don't want to smush these into the panels. I am just setting the ink pad on my glass mat, and just the weight of the ink pad is dragging across the panels. I'm holding it with the 2 fingers there, and I'm just dragging it across my panel. That's all. I'm not smushing it. I'm not putting any weight into it. I'm just dragging it. So since I've been talking this whole time and I forgot to tell you, you've probably seen me trying not to touch these panels as much as possible. I'm using my tea towel that I use to wipe up messes and stuff. It is a clean tea towel, by the way. It's just really stained. So I would try not to touch these panels because we are going to use embossing powder here, and I haven't used any anti-static powder tool in this because I wasn't sure how that would affect this. So try not to touch your panels, otherwise you might get fingerprints that you emboss on these. So that's why I've been using the tea towel the whole time, trying to touch these as little as possible. And then I wiped, when I pushed the panels with the adhesive on the back, I wiped the tea towel all over it, trying to wipe off any fingerprints that I may have gotten on there. So that's just my recommendation, is to try to touch them as little as possible and then wipe off your fingerprints before you do the Versamark part. So there I have put the holographic embossing powder on, and these pictures do not do these cards justice. They are so sparkly and pretty in real life. So now I'm doing the inside here, and I'm just taking that Daisy's stamp set again, and I am just stamping it in a light colored gray ink. This is a Marvy Gray number 12. It is a very old stamp pad, so I don't even know if they sell these anymore. And then I took the panels and I matted them on a black piece of cardstock. I did adhere these with score tape because they were pretty warped after doing the heat embossing. And then I am just gluing them down to my card base with some Nuvo liquid adhesive, which is my adhesive of choice. And then I am putting them under my stamp positioner just to weight them down while they dry, because when panels are warped, that is just the best way that I find to flatten them out, is to put them under something somewhat heavy while they dry. So I'm just adhering the second one on here real quick. Just pop that under my stamp positioner, and then through the magic of editing, they are dry and they are flat. And you didn't have to wait for that. I'm just going to crease these again with my bone folder, and here are the finished cards. I'm going to shine them in the light, but this still just does not do them justice. They are so much prettier in real life, and I'm going to try not to blind you while I do this, but no promises, guys. All right, I hope you enjoyed my cards today. The links to the supplies will be in the description box below, along with the links to the Fairy Hugs store and the Fairy Stamper Hugs Facebook group. There are challenges and giveaways, and we share all our projects and have a lot of fun over there. I encourage you to check that out. There are also links to my personal Facebook page and YouTube and all that in the description box below. I would love it if you followed me. And as always, have a great day.